ᎢℋᎪNN, your tourist visa has been issued. The day I learned that my tourist visa to Australia was issued, I became the most envied person in the factory. ᎢℋᎪNN, who always loves and hates me at the same time, couldn't help but run to me during the lunch break to know about my plans. I smiled slyly. I am going for 10 days. I am gonna play all over Australia. ᎢℋᎪNN didn't react much, but the envious look on her face made me somewhat relieved. Australia for 10 days? She questioned me. Of course. I said to her with a smug face. My ᎢℋᎪNN has arranged the most detailed travel plan for me, including all the famous attractions in Australia. ᎢℋᎪNN couldn't help but kill the limelight. You can understand English? I remember you haven't even graduated from your junior high. So what? The corners of my eyes lit up like a small crescent moon. I have ᎢℋᎪNN, and my ᎢℋᎪNN is a doctoral student studying abroad. ᎢℋᎪNN was completely speechless, holding the lunchbox and saying that she was going to add vegetables. She left. I shrugged proudly, ignoring it. Because I know that when it comes to my ᎢℋᎪNN, I will never lose. When I got off work that day, I specifically told the factory manager about my leave. The factory manager laughed at me for choosing Australia over my half-year salary. I followed him for a few laughs, saying that he did not understand the pain of long-distance relationships. That's right, ᎢℋᎪNN and I are in a standard long-distance relationship. It's not a long-distance relationship that takes dozens of minutes or hours by car, but a long-distance relationship that spans the entire Pacific Ocean and completely reverses the spring, summer, autumn and winter seasons. 4 years ago, when ᎢℋᎪNN first went to Australia, he told me that he would take me to explore it if he had the chance. At that time, how could I have imagined that one day, I would go to Australia to see my ᎢℋᎪNN? But don't laugh at me for not knowing, because I am like that. Look at my name. My name is ᎢℋᎪNN. How can anyone still be called ᎢℋᎪNN? I remember one time I fainted from a stomachache under my sewing machine. The factory manager sent me to a small clinic to see a doctor. Who knew that I woke up immediately when I arrived at the clinic? But it was kinda worth it because I saw the names of many patients on the electronic board. Every one of them was a cultured foreigner. In my mind, I changed their surnames to Song one after another, pretending to be picking names for mine and ᎢℋᎪNN's children. But looking at it, I don't think anyone can compare it to my ᎢℋᎪNN. Because I knew ᎢℋᎪNN since I was 5 years old, ᎢℋᎪNN's name was the most cultural in our village. The place where ᎢℋᎪNN and I were born is called Dongfang. That's the name of this town. I'm not making it up. Now back in this town, except for the new year, there are not many families that can be seen. The reason is simple. Poverty. They are much poorer now, not to mention ᎢℋᎪNN and me when we were young. ᎢℋᎪNN was unexpectedly born after his mother's divorce from her original man. It was a tragic life experience necessary for the male protagonist in every story. And I also tried to call myself a heroine with a bit of beauty. I succeeded in winning ᎢℋᎪNN when I was a teenager. A taciturn, tragic teenager and his little green plum who will always support him and love him forever. This is a sentence I secretly wrote in my workbook when I was studying in elementary school in the village. At that time, I read a lot of rustic romances, and my mind was full of sweet and happy days with ᎢℋᎪNN. ᎢℋᎪNN would often have meals at my house and I would often try to get close to him. How about being married to my house? I promise to keep you fat and white. ᎢℋᎪNN gave me a glance at this moment, and then silently looked around my house for a week. He's such a bad guy sometimes. I picked up the rice spoon and filled myself with a bowl of white rice, and then I imitated ᎢℋᎪNN. When he left after dinner, he always liked to say a few words to my grandma, and then gave me a very casual wave. However, I enjoyed it. I got to have dinner with ᎢℋᎪNN daily, the most handsome boy in Dongfang's primary school. Every day after school, I happily went to tell my grandma about my day. My grandma would tell me to be nice to ᎢℋᎪNN as it was not easy for him. I nodded. Of course, I wanted to be very nice to my future husband. After all, I am his destined little green plum. But when I was in my second year of high school, 2 big things happened. A good thing, a bad thing. The good thing is that ᎢℋᎪNN said that he would support me in the future and be good to me for the rest of his life. The bad thing is, my grandma passed away and I had no money to study. Oh yes, I forgot to mention that my parents divorced very early and each started a new family. I have lived with my grandma ever since I was a child. On the day my grandma died, ᎢℋᎪNNn came to my house for dinner. That was the first time I didn't smile at him. I simply told him to get out. I don't know why I told him to get out at that time. I just felt that the world was ruined and my life was hopeless. I was only in my second year of junior high, and the person whom I most treasured in my life just suddenly disappeared. The village committee came to the house several times and asked me what to do in the future. I grabbed them and yelled like a little madman. The adults pitied me and annoyed me, saying they would come again the next day. I walked around in an empty room and sat by the wall, trembling like a lunatic. But I didn't expect that ᎢℋᎪNN, who came to eat every night, would come again as usual. But there was no grandma's cooking today. I stood in the room and told him to get out. For no reason, I poured my anger on him, telling him to hurry up and get lost. ᎢℋᎪNN used to be very cold to me. But only this time, he hugged me, who was crying and making trouble and wouldn't let go. I made a deep cut on his neck with my fingernails. Blood dripping down. Just like that, but ᎢℋᎪNN didn't let me go. He was really strong. During Chinese New Year that year, I went to my grandmother's grave. It was ᎢℋᎪNN who accompanied me. It was also that day ᎢℋᎪNN said to me, "ᎢℋᎪNN, I will treat you well in the future." I didn't believe it. I said that you can't guarantee that you will be kind to me all your life. Who knew that ᎢℋᎪNN immediately knelt in front of my grandmother and swore, "I will be good to ᎢℋᎪNNN until I die." The taciturn and tragic teenager was finally together with his green plum, who has always supported and loved him. I still dropped out of school that year. After my grandmother died, I had no intention of studying any further. ᎢℋᎪNNn persuaded me for a long time, but to no avail, and I finally entered a factory. Not the present one I am working on now. The first factory made insoles were being produced and I were responsible for cutting the thread from the very beginning. ᎢℋᎪNNn was still studying in the town. I didn't take his words on my grandma's grave seriously. I was not stupid, he just wanted to comfort me for the sake of my grandma taking care of him a few years ago. But ᎢℋᎪNNn never broke his promise for a day. Until high school graduation, he went to the insole factory to pick me up every day. I was a delicate flower of the insole factory, and he was a top student in the town high school. It's a perfect match in all senses, and I can't help but applaud. In the year ᎢℋᎪNNn graduated from high school, an earth-shattering event happened in the town. ᎢℋᎪNNn was admitted to Tsinghua University. The whole town was like crazy, and a 5-meter banner was hung in front of ᎢℋᎪNnn's mother's house. It was a bit embarrassing. At that time, ᎢℋᎪNnn's mother had already remarried, and ᎢℋᎪNNn had been ignored for several years except for some money. When the mayor came to ask ᎢℋᎪNNn to come out for an interview with reporters, ᎢℋᎪNnn's mother could only say that ᎢℋᎪNNn was out to play. But only I know that ᎢℋᎪNNn kissed me in the small house I rented that day. We were both over 18 at that time. ᎢℋᎪNNn suddenly came to my house that day and told me two things. ᎢℋᎪNNn, I was admitted to Tsinghua University. The school rewarded me with 5,000 yuan and I want to give it to you. The second thing is, ᎢℋᎪNNn, come with me to Beijing, I will treat you well. Look, this is the man I've loved for so many years. How can he be so handsome, so good, and so arrogant at the same time? I nodded my head like a sifter, smiling like a lunatic. ᎢℋᎪNNn also laughed, hugged me and we both fell on my cot. I usually sleep fine by myself, but with ᎢℋᎪNNn, it becomes so crowded. We both struggled to breathe, but neither of us could let go. ᎢℋᎪNNn, I'm going to work in a big company in the future, and I want to marry you at that time. No one would propose that. But this is the ᎢℋᎪNNn that swore to be with me during elementary school. I nodded without hesitation, okay. ᎢℋᎪNnn's face became serious for a second. I can't wait until I can support my family. Why can't I support my family right now? ᎢℋᎪNNn patted me on the back of the forehead. I said I want to be nice to you. I want to support you. Look, how macho. If I accept the influence of an international metropolis in a few years, I will say, no, I want to be an independent woman, and I can't rely on you. But how did I know this at that time? I only knew that my ᎢℋᎪNNn was right and that I will surely have a good life with him. So when I was 18, I came to Beijing with ᎢℋᎪNNn. For the first time, the two of us were convinced that we were two dismal little ants. Prosperity, what is prosperity? Beijing is. The days have gotten better and better since that time. ᎢℋᎪNNn adapted to school life smoothly, and I also found a suitable new factory. This is the textile factory where I work now. I worked in an insole factory for a few years, and I was very good at sewing, so I was able to quickly settle down in this factory. Most of the time at work was boring, with one sewing machine per person, and a thick cotton mask on a lonely day. Sometimes I looked up and saw that there were denser sewing machines next to me, and everyone wears a white mask and bows their heads. I often got lost for a moment. But only for a moment. When I think of my ᎢℋᎪNN, I would immediately continue to step on my sewing machine in high spirits. For ᎢℋᎪNN, for ourselves, and our bright future. In the third year from the first time when we came to Beijing, we went to see a movie for the first time. The first reason is that ᎢℋᎪNN and I were very busy. I would often work all week long, and ᎢℋᎪNN was filled with part-time jobs every weekend. The second reason, to be honest, we were poor. Because ᎢℋᎪNN didn't want me to be squeezed into a cubicle where more than a dozen people lived together, I lived in a 3-bedroom single room with a small toilet of my own. I dare say that there are not many single girls in the whole mill who live better than me. But I don't want to live in a cubicle room with poor sound insulation. Because ᎢℋᎪNN sometimes came to live in my rental house on weekends, we were like conjoined twins, and even when we cooked, he held me from behind. Unexpectedly, ᎢℋᎪNN is more inseparable from me than I am from him. He always said that he wanted to get to work quickly and make money quickly, and told me not to work so hard in the future. Every time I pretended not to mind, I often laughed out loud in the middle of the night. ᎢℋᎪNNn would suddenly ask me what I was laughing at. I immediately pretended to be asleep and didn't speak a word. He kept tickling me until I couldn't keep it up, so I could only laugh and beg for mercy. Why do you keep tingling me? You know I'm the most ticklish. I just like to see you giggling. You're giggling too. One day he got home and told me something. The last time I had this kind of disbelief was when ᎢℋᎪNNn was admitted to Tsinghua University. This time, ᎢℋᎪNNn told me that he had an opportunity to study for a doctorate in Australia for free. OMG. Is this a topic he has to talk so seriously about? University in Tsinghua, Beijing, and doctoral PhD in Australia. I jumped up and down in the rental house excitedly, but ᎢℋᎪNNn seriously pulled me into his arms. This was the first time he spoke to me seriously. ᎢℋᎪNNn, I have to study for 4 years, and this only covers tuition and part of the living expenses. I may not be able to come back for 4 years. A basin of cold water poured on my head. I had to be separated from ᎢℋᎪNNn for 4 years. He didn't say anything anymore, and my tears started to fall. My body was shaking so badly that he held me and refused to let go. ᎢℋᎪNNn added, just because I have this opportunity, I don't have to go. I originally planned to find a job early to earn money to support my family, so I wouldn't go. No. However, I loudly stopped him from going on. ᎢℋᎪNNn, you must go. My best ᎢℋᎪNNn, after graduating with his undergraduate degree, has to get on a plane to Australia if he is getting a chance. On the day of our flight, both of us were very relaxed. The first time I had coffee at the airport, it was bittersweet. ᎢℋᎪNNn smiled and drank my remaining half cup of coffee, and told me to message him every day. I laugh at him saying that he seriously can't live without me. ᎢℋᎪNNn slapped me on the forehead, and then solemnly warned me not to fall in love with other people. I shrugged. I can't control this. ᎢℋᎪNNn immediately came to scratch my itch. Boarding time was coming soon. Neither of us had any particularly heavy emotions, and I sent him forward, wanting to watch him get on the plane. Who knew that when the two of us just walked up to a uniformed sister, that sister suddenly stopped me after taking the boarding pass in ᎢℋᎪNnn's hand. I don't know what happened. I grabbed ᎢℋᎪNnn's hand tightly. I'm here to see him off. The elder sister's tone was unfamiliar. You can't go in through the security check here. The ignorant shame flooded my cheeks instantly, and I immediately let go. Oh, then I won't go in. ᎢℋᎪNNn originally wanted to turn back, but the elder sister had already pushed him forward. I didn't even look at him for a moment. Looking back, tears fell in large drops. I knew ᎢℋᎪNNn was going to leave, but I didn't expect the moment of separation to come so unexpectedly. I don't even have time to prepare. It's all my ignorance. I thought I could watch him get on the plane with my own eyes. From that day on, ᎢℋᎪNNn and I started a long-distance relationship. But fortunately, there is only a 2-hour time difference between Australia and China, and we could often chat for longer hours. ᎢℋᎪNNn has changed completely. It's not that he has changed his mind, it's that he has become more cheerful. He made new friends and often went outdoors with them. My favorite pastime now is to look at the photos ᎢℋᎪNNn sent me. He went to the Gold Coast and tried surfing for the first time with friends. He forgot to apply sunscreen, and the next day he was sunburned. He went to the Great Barrier Reef, where his team rented a boat to collect coral reef data. We didn't get in touch that week because he lost his cell phone signal. He also went to Dolphin Island, where at sunset he photographed a large number of dolphins swimming from Antarctica to feed. ⎢became more and more incapable of taking my eyes off me. It has also become a topic of conversation with the little sisters in the factory every day. Everyone knows that I, who came from the countryside, have an amazing boyfriend. He is handsome and excellent, and most importantly, he transfers 80,000 yuan to ⎢⎪every year. 80,000 yuan, half of the girls in the factory can't make so much money in a year. So I had a pretty good life these days when ⎢ left. Taking the money he sent and just waited for him to return and marry me. It was ⎢'s last year in Australia when I received the news that I was asked to travel to Australia. I also received a very detailed travel plan. I didn't lie to ⎢. For 10 days, I was arranged for everything. Gold Coast, Great Barrier Reef, Dolphin Island, Sydney Opera House, Great Ocean Road, Koala Zoo and many more. It's a full piece of paper, and I read it for a long time. One of ⎢'s classmates was in charge of contacting me. He was ⎢'s roommate and his name was William. He said it was his English name, he was used to it and hoped that I don't mind. Of course, I don't mind it, on the contrary, I find it very fashionable. Sure enough, everyone's names are better than mine, ⎢⎪. He also helped me get the visa. To be honest, when I came to Capital International Airport for the second time, I still had the shadow of 4 years ago in my heart. But the moment I got on the plane and took off, I forgot everything. The plane began to shake violently, and I gripped the armrest of the seat unwittingly. Outside the window, I could see that the ground was getting further and further away from me. Instead of panicking like a rookie, I slowly relaxed. Then I felt like I was about to cry. I turned my head away secretly, afraid that others would see it. I just shouted silently in my heart, ⎢, I, ⎢⎪, came to see you. After about 12 hours of flight, I successfully landed in Australia. Walking along the transparent corridor, I saw everyone crouching on the tables on both sides filling out the immigration form just issued by the flight attendant. It's all in English and I have no clue. Fortunately, there was an aunt who saw that I was at a loss and came up to patiently teach me how to fill in. The 10,000th time this kind of remorse has been born. If only I had read a few more years of books, I wouldn't have been so clueless. But in general, my first flight and my first trip abroad went smoothly. The first second I walked out of the airport, a boy waved at me. ⎢⎪. God, why did he call my name so loudly in public? I blushed and looked at him. It was a tall boy wearing a white jumper. The strange thing was that he was wearing long sleeves and shorts. Before leaving, William told me that it was winter in Australia. So I specially brought 2 down jackets. When I walked with him to the outdoor parking lot, I realized that shorts can be worn in winter in Australia. ⎢⎪. After getting in the car, he called my name again. I smiled at him, hello William. He seemed to be hesitating but soon smiled at me, hello ⎢. You are much prettier than ⎢ described. What does he usually say about me? I was curious. William motioned for me to put on the seat belt, looked straight ahead and said, he said that you are the best girlfriend one can ever get in the world. Look. That's my ⎢. The ⎢ knelt on my grandmother's grave in the second year of junior high and vowed to be good to me for the rest of my life. When I got to William's place, I put my luggage down. Let's rest today, tomorrow we'll go out to play. Okay. I let out ⎢'s favorite laugh and jumped several times in the living room. For 10 days, William took me around Australia. When I went to sea, I pressed hard on the sunscreen pump and smeared it all over myself. Surfing is not easy at all, the muscles must be exerted and the posture must be correct. William stopped playing after a while, but I practiced from morning to evening. I don't know how many sips of seawater I drank. I couldn't eat dinner that night. In the middle of the night, my calf cramped and I rolled around in the room in pain. When I went to the Great Barrier Reef, I tried snorkeling for the first time. The coach told me to put one hand on the life buoy, and he took us to swim to the depths of the sea. I looked at the brightly colored coral reefs under the sea, and the transparent school of fish swam just 15 centimeters away from me. I couldn't help but think of the photos ⎢ sent me. Those beautiful fish and corals of various shapes were originally photographed in this way. They are so close to me that I can reach out and touch them. That night, I dug out the photos that ⎢ had sent me and compared them one by one, trying to find out if we had photographed the same landscape. I lived up to the painstaking efforts and found the similarities. It was the group of transparent little fish, with a black dot on their head that could be vaguely identified. I was so excited that I didn't sleep well all night, and it felt like I was filming with Ꭲ⋅Ꭺ. William took me to Sydney for the next few days. To be honest, I don't like Sydney, there are too many people there, and in the middle of the night, we are chased and scolded by a group of idle teenagers. William told me to get used to it. I couldn't help but ask him, have you and Ꭲ⋅Ꭺ been scolded like this before? Of course, Ꭲ⋅Ꭺ was robbed of his cell phone by a teenager at the train station. He was so angry that he had a fight with that person and injured himself. The most unforgettable thing I have been in Australia for so many years is that scene. I frowned immediately. Ꭲ⋅Ꭺ never told me about this. He should be afraid of you worrying. I was a little angry. After a while of silence, he shouldn't take the risk just to get the phone back. He said there are photos that haven't been archived. That shouldn't be the risk. William looked at me, Ꭲ⋅Ꭺ. He called my name again. I look at him. Ꭲ⋅Ꭺ loves you very much. I know. You don't know. I know. I was a little angry. Why would William say that I don't know? I'm his girlfriend, why didn't I know? I was really angry. But also a little confused. Just from this point of view, Ꭲ⋅Ꭺ had something hiding from me. So I was also angry with Ꭲ⋅Ꭺ. I no longer argue with William about this. In the next few days, we followed this itinerary to complete all the attractions. The last stop was the Great Ocean Road. Along the southwest coast of Victoria, you can see the magnificent Atlantic Ocean. The total length is more than 400 kilometers, and William drove me to enjoy the scenery along the road. From time to time we got out of the car to watch the waves of the Atlantic crashing on the sandstone boulders. The howling wind passed by my ears. My body was swaying as if I was about to fall unconsciously. William gave me a worried hand. I looked back at him. William, why do you say Ꭲ⋅Ꭺ loves me? I finally gave in and conceded defeat. I wonder why William said Ꭲ⋅Ꭺ loves me. But this time he was speechless. William also turned to look at the endless Atlantic Ocean like me. A place that I have only heard of in geography books before, I have seen with my own eyes today. It was 2:30 in the afternoon when we reached the end of the Great Ocean Road. William took me to a coffee house built by the sea. From the outdoor location, you can see the blue diamond-like sea at a glance. I'm not exaggerating, it's more beautiful than a blue diamond. A cup of hot chocolate. William said this was ordered by Ꭲ⋅Ꭺ. He said you were afraid of hardship. I couldn't help laughing. Ꭲ⋅Ꭺ still remembered the half cup of coffee I didn't finish at the airport that year. I reached for the cup and took a sip. So warm and sweet, just like the years I have been with Ꭲ⋅Ꭺ. We've never fought, it's awesome. I was originally a cheerful personality, and Ꭲ⋅Ꭺ spoke very little. Can't make a noise at all. The owner of our factory once saw Ꭲ⋅Ꭺ and came to me once. He said that Ꭲ⋅Ꭺ is a good man. I asked him how he knew it, and he said he was 58, and he had seen more people than I had eaten. Although I often complain about him behind his back, I can barely count him right. In the sea breeze, I finished coffee with William in a very Western manner. William asked me, let's go now, can you? I put down the empty coffee cup. Okay, I can't wait to see Ꭲ⋅Ꭺ. William nodded, got up and went to the car first as if avoiding me. I sat in my seat and looked at the sky again, remembering that when Ꭲ⋅Ꭺ and I came to Beijing for the first time, we looked at the sky the same way. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, William and I were driving south. On the highway with little traffic, I banged my head on the glass of the car in a bit of trouble. The 10-day itinerary was too intensive, and I was already a little overwhelmed. William stopped talking to me and turned on the radio in the car. English was my best hypnotic potion, and soon I fell asleep. My mind was chaotic, and I dreamed of watching a movie that day. After watching it, I burst into tears because the plot was too touching. When I was walking home with Ꭲ⋅Ꭺ on the streets of Beijing at night, he suddenly asked me if I liked watching movies. Of course. I hugged his arm. This is the most basic couple activity. Ꭲ⋅Ꭺ smiled and looked at me. What else? I immediately became interested and extracted the content of the chat with the sisters in the factory. Let's take a look, eat together, eat out, ride the Ferris wheel, watch fireworks, go to the amusement park, and celebrate Christmas. Oh yes, and the most important thing. Ꭲ⋅Ꭺ's face immediately became serious. What? That's it. Long distance travel together. Why? I said with the appearance of an old god. I read on the internet that it is possible to determine whether a couple is suitable for marriage by taking a long distance trip together. How to judge? Because usually when we contact each other, we always bring out the best of ourselves, but if we travel long distances and stay together, we will encounter all kinds of problems. Which is the best way to detect whether two people are suitable for marriage for a lifetime? Song-shu fell silent after hearing what I said. The pride in my heart, the top students of Tsinghua University also think that what I said is very reasonable. I, Shu Xiaomi, am out. But after that day, I also forgot about it. I have so many conversations with Song-shu every day, how can I remember every sentence? William woke me up. He said to me, "It's here." I opened my eyes in confusion. It wasn't dark yet, but it was already slightly dark. He parked the car in a parking lot. I said, "Oh. I don't know if it's because I'm sleepy or what, but my whole person is a little erratic." Getting out of the car and walking like stepping on cotton made William a little worried about me. Or tomorrow. Today. Today. My voice suddenly rose, and in the quiet parking lot, it was like an iron nail scraping through a piece of glass. William pursed his lips tightly. "Take me outside the parking lot." Walking along with the white stones all the way, we entered a gray-white building. William and the staff inside spoke some English, which I couldn't understand. He quickly walked back to me. "We're going to wait here for a while." "Okay." "This thing," William suddenly took out a notebook from his carry-on bag and handed it to me. "I sent you photos before, and now it's the thing, it's back to the original owner." I looked at the large notebook with the black cover and slowly reached out to take it. When I opened the first page, I couldn't help but chuckle. Song-shu loves Shu Xiaomi for a lifetime. This is the book I gave to Song-shu 4 years ago, and I had to write this line on the first page before Song-shu went to Australia. Please allow my childishness, after all, I was just a little girl in her 20s. I looked down at the somewhat old book, rubbed the cover a few times, and slowly turned it back. This is the diary of Song-shu's 4 years in Australia. It may be inaccurate to say that it is a diary because he does not write in it every day, and what is recorded in this book is not the daily Song-shu. Instead, he misses Shu Xiaomi's Song-shu. Xiaomi has a stomachache, remember to remind her to eat on time every day. Right square bracket. Tomorrow night, Xiaomi is out to play with her friends, so she can't be called until 10 o'clock in China. Xiaomi's birthday, order a cake for her. Right square bracket. The scenery of this place I went to with my friends today is very good, write down the name, and bring Xiaomi here later. Xiaomi, Xiaomi, Xiaomi. Every sentence of Song-shu is my name. Xiaomi. What should I do? For the first time, I think my name sounds good. Xiaomi. Halfway through the book, there is no further writing. What I saw at the end was the same photo that William sent me when he first contacted me. It is a detailed travel plan. But not 10 days, but 2 full months. From the Gold Coast to the Great Barrier Reef, to Dolphin Island, to the Sydney Opera House, to the Koala Zoo, the last stop is the Great Ocean Road. Song-shu has been to some places, and he has written in detail about what is interesting and what is not. In some places he has not been, Song-shu has listed the attractions he found on the internet that are worth seeing. As expected of my Song-shu, the travel plan is full of 5 pages, all of which are written by hand. I laughed so hard that I couldn't help shivering, and it kind of looked like I was when my grandmother died. William patted me gently on the back, and I saw the black handwriting on the pages slowly stunned by drops of water from nowhere. I read slowly every word Song wrote and finally turned to the last page. The Great Ocean Road is the last stop, and I invite Xiaomi to drink a cup of hot chocolate at that seaside coffee shop. She would smile until her eyes narrowed into small crescents and let out a big laugh. But it didn't matter, it was an outdoor coffee shop, and she could laugh as loudly as she wanted. Then after we both finished our coffee, gave her this ring. Don't be nervous, Song-shu. Then you will tell her like this. Xiaomi, after 22 years of acquaintance and love and the test of 2 months of travel, are you willing to spend the rest of your life with this person in front of you? Right square bracket. Comma. It should be successful, it should be successful. Right square bracket. Oh, then add, Xiaomi, I, Song-shu, will treat you well for the rest of my life. I swore to your grandma. Hey, my Song-shu would be so nervous. I laughed until my vision gradually blurred and my body trembled more and more. Of course, it will succeed, Song-shu. I, Shu Xiaomi, love you so much, I have been in love with you since I was 5 years old. William seems to be talking to me all the time, but I can't hear it. He started shaking me violently. I was shaken to the point of vomiting and finally looked up at him. For some reason, there were a few more people around him that I didn't know. They had serious faces and didn't say a word. It's ready inside, go in, ᎢℋᎪNN. William took my arm. I'm a little out of strength. Like a puppet without a skeleton, I followed them in. In the long and bright corridor, when I passed the glass on one side, I realized that everyone was wearing black. Soon, we walked outside through another door. In the distance, I saw Song-shu. I jumped up like crazy and shouted, I'm willing. I'm willing. I'm willing. Song-shu, I'm willing. Song-shu, I'm willing. The yard was quiet, just like the day Grandma had left. When did the sky get so dark? Why aren't the lights on here? Song-shu kept smiling at me. Like when he hugged me from behind to watch me cook. I tilted my head and caught him with a bright face, and Song-shu immediately froze. It's like playing hide and seek with me. My voice gradually became silent. I was about to drop to the ground. But William and a friend took me to a chair next to him. Someone was talking dully. My mind was in endless chaos, and I couldn't open my eyes again. The past 10 days flashed past my eyes like a spectacle. Song-shu taught me how to surf, and Song-shu snorkeled with me. We photographed the piece of transparent fish together, and he accompanied me to the end of the Great Ocean Road. Finally, in that seaside cafe, he proposed to me a little nervously. The first time I saw Song-shu stuttering, I wanted to laugh at him. Who knew that as soon as I said I do, I would cry out of shape? I am married to Song-shu. After returning from Australia, we registered and got married in Beijing. Over the years, he and I have saved a lot of money, and we rented a one-bedroom apartment in Xiantong, Yuan, Beijing. I don't know much about his work. Anyway, he was in a tall office building. I also quit my job in the factory and helped out in a restaurant in the community. In the second year of marriage, I became pregnant. Choosing a name for a child is a big project. Originally, I wanted to recall the name I saw in the small clinic that year, but too many years have passed, and I have long since forgotten it. But my husband, Song-shu, is a top student. He took a boy's name and a girl's name. I like it so much, it's a good name. Song-shu said my name was fine. I was quiet for a while and nodded. Yes, my name is also good. Because Song-shu likes it. So good, so good. When I opened my eyes again, it was completely dark. My body is no longer shaking. After the emotions were completely boiled, it also ushered in a complete cold. A lamp shone between me and Song-shu from a distance. I looked at his clear eyes and smiled softly at him. William turned his head and handed me a flower. How are you? I nodded and took the flower. On a quiet path, I slowly walked toward Song-shu. I have never seen that photo, it should have been taken here later. I stroked his face lightly with my fingers, and then slowly put the flower down. Song-shu, I will. After I finished speaking, I laughed out loud. When I first went abroad to meet my long-distance boyfriend, it was actually for his funeral. Afterward. Song-shu was targeted after buying a diamond ring at a jewelry store. 3 criminals followed him to the bus stop and dragged him into the bathroom. Song-shu resisted and was brutally murdered. When sent to the hospital, Song-shu was already in critical condition. After William arrived, he was confused and only said repeatedly, I'm going to take ᎢℋᎪNN on a trip. End of story.